In today's episode,
Have you ever been stuck in silence and thought, I have no idea what to say now?
that silence feels louder than any noise. Your brain starts racing. Your hands get awkward. Please, let something happen. The thing that saves you is the weather.
British people and weather are best friends. 94% of people in the UK talked about the weather in the last 6 hours.
It's chilly today, isn't it? Looks like rain. It's so hot today.
It's freezing out there.
It's raining cats and dogs. I've never felt an earthquake before.
Welcome back to StoryOrbitEN, and let me start with a question that might sound simple but is actually powerful. Have you ever been stuck in silence with someone and suddenly thought, I have no idea what to say now?
Oh yes, many times. And that silence feels louder than any noise. Your brain starts racing, your hands get awkward, and you're thinking, please let something happen. And 9 times out of 10, the thing that saves you is the weather.
Exactly, and that's why today's episode is all about talking about the weather in English. It sounds boring at first, but honestly, it's one of the most useful conversation skills you can have.
Totally, because weather is like a universal password. You can use it with anyone, anywhere, anytime, and no one thinks it's weird. You can be in an elevator, at work, waiting for coffee, or meeting your neighbor for the first time.
And what I love is that you don't need perfect grammar or advanced vocabulary. Even very simple sentences work, and people still respond naturally.
Yes, and it's also very cultural. In some places, talking about the weather is almost a hobby. I'm looking at you, UK.
Ha ha ha! Yes, British people and weather are best friends. And this isn't just a stereotype, by the way. The BBC shared research showing that 94% of people in the UK say they talked about the weather in the last 6 hours, and 38% even said they did it in the past 60 minutes. So before we get into differences, let's talk about why weather is such a safe topic.
Well, first, it's neutral. You're not talking about politics, money, or personal problems. You're just observing what's around you.
And second, everyone experiences it at the same time. If it's raining, both of us are getting wet. If it's hot, we're both sweating.
And just to make that super clear for anyone listening, get wet literally means rain touches you, like when you forget an umbrella and your clothes start feeling damp. And sweating is what your body does when it's hot. You start producing sweat to cool down.
Exactly, and those are everyday words people use all the time, not fancy vocabulary.
Right, and that shared experience creates a tiny connection. It's small, but it's enough to open the door to more conversation.
Let's imagine a real situation. You're waiting for a bus, it's cloudy, and the air feels cold. What could you say, Tom?
Before I answer, quick note for anyone listening. When we say cloudy, we mean the sky is full of clouds and you don't see much blue. It's not raining yet, but it feels like it might.
Yes, that kind of gray sky that makes you think, something's coming.
Exactly, and in that moment, I'd probably say, it's chilly today, isn't it?
Perfect, and let's pause there for a second. The word chilly is interesting because it doesn't mean freezing.
Right, chilly means a little cold, enough to notice, but not extreme, like when you think maybe I should have brought a jacket.
Exactly, and it sounds very natural. You could say, it's cold, but chilly feels more conversational.
And adding, isn't it, at the end, invites the other person to respond. You're not just making a statement, you're opening a dialogue.
That's such an important point. Little tags like, isn't it, right? Or, don't you think? Make your English sound more friendly.
Yeah, these are called question tags, but don't let the name scare you. In real life, people use them to avoid ending the conversation too suddenly.
Exactly, because if you just say, it's chilly today, and stop, it kind of closes the door. There's nothing for the other person to grab onto.
But when you add, isn't it? You're basically saying, please react. You're giving the other person permission to answer, agree, or even disagree.
And that's key. These tags don't mean you're sure the other person agrees. They just show you're open to their opinion.
And here's a simple way to think about it. When your sentence is positive, like, it's chilly today, the tag is usually negative. So you add, isn't it?
And when the sentence is negative, the tag flips. So if you say, it isn't very warm today, you normally add, is it?
Exactly. It's like a balance. Positive sentence, negative tag. Negative sentence, positive tag.
And how people answer depends on what they think, not just on the grammar.
Right, if you say, it's chilly today, isn't it? And the other person agrees, they'll usually say, yeah, it is.
But if they don't agree, that's totally fine too. They might say, actually, I feel warm today.
And that disagreement doesn't sound rude at all. It just keeps the conversation moving.
That's why these tags are so useful. You're not looking for a correct answer. You're inviting a reaction. So if you're listening, try this. Next time you talk about the weather, don't stop the sentence too early.
Let's talk about another very common phrase. Looks like rain. That one is everywhere. And what's funny is that it's not a fact. It's more like a guess.
Yes, looks like is such a useful structure. It means based on what I see, this is probably going to happen.
You can use it for many things, not just weather. Like, looks like he's busy, or looks like we're late.
But with weather, it's perfect because weather is unpredictable. You look at dark clouds and say, looks like rain.
And then someone replies, yeah, I should have brought an umbrella.
Which brings us to complaining, because weather talk often includes a bit of complaining.
Oh, yes, especially when it's too hot or too cold. Complaining is almost part of the ritual.
And for learners, this is good news because complaining phrases are easy and expressive.
For example, it's so hot today. That so adds emotion.
Or, it's freezing out there. Even if it's not literally freezing, people exaggerate. When people say freezing in everyday English, they usually just mean very cold, not that water is actually turning into ice.
That's important. In English, weather language is often dramatic.
Yes, people say it's boiling when it's just very hot, not actually boiling. Literally, boiling means a liquid gets so hot that it starts bubbling, like water in a pot on the stove.
Or, I'm melting when they're uncomfortable, not actually turning into liquid.
Let's talk about fall or autumn because this season is perfect for weather conversations.
Totally, because it changes all the time. One day you feel summer's still here. The next day you're searching for your coat. And just to clarify for listeners, fall and autumn are the same season. Fall is more common in American English, and autumn is more common in British English.
And a very common phrase is, the weather changes so fast.
I love that one because it's simple and everyone understands it immediately. You might say it when in the morning is sunny and in the afternoon it's raining heavily. And so fast emphasizes your surprise or frustration.
Another fall phrase is, the days are getting shorter.
That's a good one, and it's slightly more advanced because it uses the present continuous to talk about a trend.
Yes, and you don't need to explain grammar when you use it. You just notice it's dark earlier and say it. Like, wow, it's already dark. The days are getting shorter. That sounds very natural.
And it often leads to feelings. Someone might reply, yeah, I hate that, or I actually like cozy evenings.
Let's talk about rain because English has some fun ways to describe heavy rain. One very common expression is, it's raining cats and dogs.
And even though it sounds crazy, it just means it's raining very heavily.
Exactly. No animals falling from the sky, just a lot of rain coming down fast. Another phrase you'll hear a lot is, it's pouring down.
Pouring makes you imagine water being poured from a bucket. So again, very strong rain.
Both expressions mean the same thing, really heavy rain, so you can use whichever feels more natural to you.
Now let's make things a bit fun and talk about British and American differences. This is where weather talk becomes entertainment. For example, Americans often say, it's chilly,
while British people might say, it's a bit nippy. And nippy basically means the same thing, a little cold, sharp air. And a bit makes it sound even more British.
Also, vocabulary for clothes changes. Rain boots in the US and wellies in the UK.
And if you don't know the word, that's okay. You can always describe, like those big boots for rain.
Exactly. Communication is more important than perfect vocabulary.
Let's involve our listeners for a second. If you're listening right now, think about the weather where you are. Is it sunny, cloudy, rainy, windy? And try to describe it in one simple sentence in your head.
Or even better, write it down later in the comments.
Now, Tom, what's your favorite weather to talk about?
I think extreme weather. When it's too hot or too cold, people have strong opinions.
True. Strong feelings create better conversations.
Like heat waves. People say, I can't sleep, it's too hot. A heat wave is when very hot weather lasts for several days in a row, not just one hot afternoon. And during a heat wave, nights can be uncomfortable too, which is why people complain about not being able to sleep.
And sometimes people also talk about extreme events, not as small talk, but as shared experiences.
Like earthquakes or hurricanes. An earthquake is when the ground suddenly shakes because of movement under the Earth's surface.
People don't usually chat about earthquakes casually, but if one happens, everyone talks about it.
Exactly. You'll hear things like, "Did you feel that?" Or "I've never felt an earthquake before."
And a hurricane is a very strong storm with powerful winds and heavy rain that lasts for hours or even days.
And everyday English people might say, "A hurricane is coming," or "We had to stay inside because of the hurricane." These words come up more in news or serious conversations, but it's still useful to recognize them.
And the key difference is that weather talk can be light, but extreme events change the tone.
You listen more, speak carefully, and focus on shared experience again.
Let's do some mini dialogues now, just like real life. Imagine we're coworkers in the morning. I say, "Wow, it's freezing today."
And I reply, "I know. I didn't expect it to be this cold."
That's it. Simple, natural.
Another one. I say, "Looks like rain."
And I might reply, "Yeah, the sky's really dark and the air feels heavy too."
Exactly. And then I could say, "I hope it waits until I get home."
And suddenly you're talking about plans, umbrellas, or getting caught in the rain before.
That's how fast it grows from one simple sentence. Now, imagine we're meeting for the first time.
Okay, we're waiting outside and I say, "Wow, it's really windy today, isn't it?"
And I answer, "Yeah, I didn't expect it to be this windy."
Then I might laugh and say, "I almost lost my hat a minute ago."
And I reply, "Same. I had to hold on to my jacket the whole way here."
And just like that, the conversation moves away from the weather.
We might start talking about how annoying wind is, or how it ruins hairstyles, or how it makes the cold feel worse.
And none of that feels forced because the weather gave us the opening.
That's why this works so well with strangers.
You're not sharing personal information, you're sharing a moment.
And once that moment is shared, talking feels easier.
One more example, I say, "The weather changes so fast lately."
And I reply, "Seriously, yesterday felt like summer, and today I needed a jacket."
Then maybe I add, "I never know what to wear anymore." And that's such a relatable comment because weather affects daily decisions.
And that turns into a real, everyday conversation, not just weather talk.
These are short sentences, but they feel very real because people actually speak like this.
And learners often think they need long sentences, but they don't.
Exactly. Short sentences are powerful.
So if we look back at everything we talked about today, it all started with one simple idea. When you don't know what to say, the weather is always there to help you.
Exactly. We covered how a tiny sentence like, "It's chilly today, isn't it?" can open a whole conversation instead of closing it.
We talked about useful words like cloudy, chilly, freezing, boiling, and how people exaggerate all the time when they talk about weather.
And we looked at expressions like, "looks like rain," "raining cats and dogs," "pouring down," and why complaining a little actually helps you connect.
We also touched on more extreme words like heat wave, hurricane, and earthquake, which you'll hear more in news or serious conversations.
You probably won't use those as small talk, but it's good to recognize them when people say things like, "Did you feel the earthquake?" or "The hurricane is getting closer."
Plus question tags, which are basically your secret weapon for avoiding awkward silence.
So next time you're stuck in an elevator waiting for a bus or standing in line for coffee, just look outside and say something about the weather, even if it's obvious, especially if it's obvious.
Because everyone sees the same sky, and that's more than enough to start talking. Now we want to hear from you. Write a comment describing the weather where you are right now, or use one expression you learned today.
And if you want a challenge, try adding a question tag at the end.
We'll be very impressed if you do. Thanks for hanging out with us on StoryOrbitEN.
And remember, if all else fails, talk about the weather. It never lets you down. See you next time.